You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. By going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com, you can make this possible. All right, folks, Byron Allen, the CEO of Entertainment Studios, suing Comcast and Charter Communications for $20 billion over racial discrimination. He claims that the companies wouldn't carry his networks or even meet with him because Entertainment Studio is a 100% minority-owned company. He also says the networks are in violation of the Civil Rights Act of 1866, which prohibits racial discrimination in contracting. The Supreme Court has agreed to hear the case on November 13th, and if Allen wins, it would be a major victory for black-owned companies and black media as well. Now, what's quite interesting about this is that this week, the Trump Department of Justice actually filed a brief siding with Comcast in this whole deal. So according to this brief that they actually put out, the Department of Justice, they are arguing that Byron Allen needs to prove that race is the specific reason as to why he has been denied an opportunity to actually have his networks on Comcast. He has blasted the DOJ, blasted their interference as well. He said this is about enslavement. Pretty interesting. Let's talk about this, of course, with our panel. We got a couple of lawyers on the panel. First off, joining me to my right, Puerto Rico's Driscoll, adjunct professor of the George Washington University. Also joining us, Monique Presley, legal analyst and crisis manager. We have, of course, Dr. Jason Nichols, African American Studies, University of Maryland, and of course, and also joining us right now is Byron Jones, who's an attorney here in Washington, D.C. I'm gonna go to Monique, sorry, Ryan Jones, my apologies. Monique, I wanna go to you first. So, first of all, a lot of people were shocked when Byron Allen said, Civil Rights Act of 1866. People were like, okay, first of all, I didn't realize that was Civil Rights Act of 1866. But it was very interesting, and people initially laughed at him. The fact that the Supreme Court is going to hear this case has shocked a lot of people that it's made its way through the federal court system all the way to the Supreme Court, and they don't take a lot of cases.
Right. Right, but you know what? He's lived his whole career that way. He backs up whatever he's going to do with action. It's not a lot of talk. A lot of people have no idea even of how successful he is. Of course, you people like us know that being in the industry, but I applaud what he did. I wish that more people who were in the entertainment business who know good and well that, yes, he was discriminated against and this company was because of color. There was specific intent to do it for that purpose and that it wasn't for any other pretextual reason that they're going to come up with. It's a shame that you don't get the support of the justice system right now because, well, because of all of the reasons that I'm sure we'll find a way to talk about it. But I think it's a good step that the Supreme Court recognizes this needs to be heard. I'm not confident about what they're going to do, but I think it's a good step that it's being heard.
Ryan, what's interesting about this, again, is the fact that he filed this in 2015. It's now 4 years. It's made its way all the way up. And so this is what the Trump Department of Justice said. They said that although the statute does not expressly describe the necessary causal link between a plaintiff's race and a defendant's refusal to contract, the text is most naturally read to require but-for causation, and background common law principles confirm that a but-for rule applies. Now, again, if you read the 1866 Civil Rights Act, which is quite interesting, again, something that was passed by huge margins, it was around one of the Reconstruction Acts, 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment as well. And it also established citizenship. And so it's really interesting, again, looking at this and reading it. And what do you make, though, of Byron Allen using this particular Civil Rights Act? He's not saying, oh, you guys just wouldn't meet with me. He's literally using a law that was passed in 1866 as the basis of his claim.
I think it's intelligent. What it does is it elevates the audience that's going to review, the court that's going to review this claim. You take it to the federal system. That's how you get to the Supreme Court. He didn't go state. He didn't go local. He wanted to go to a place where he's going to have the biggest platform to speak his mind. And now it does call the conversation to us to say, hey, look, are we doing enough? How is it still possible for this to even be a conversation? Because you are a black-owned media entertainment company, that you can be excluded from Comcast and getting your messages out to the nationwide, black folks nationwide. And that's what Comcast is doing.
Now, here's what it says. All persons within the jurisdiction of the United States should have the same right in every state and territory to make and enforce contracts, to sue, be parties, give evidence, and to the full and equal benefit of all laws and proceedings for the security of persons and property as is enjoyed by white citizens, and shall be subject to like punishment, pains, penalties, taxes, licenses, and exactions of every kind, and to no other. Jason, again, reading that, what the law says is that, black folks are the same as white folks. I should have the same opportunities that they do, which is what Byron Allen is saying.
Absolutely. That's exactly what he's saying. I really, I can't see how, the Supreme Court and how the Trump administration would go against that, but nothing the Trump administration does surprises me at this point. I think we're going to, see, again, another example of how elections have consequences. And, we see how the judicial element of elections and the consequences that they bear, not only in this case, but in even more serious cases around the country. Not saying that this isn't serious, but in life and death cases.
Right, but what's unfortunate, Roland, is that I agree in part, disagree in part. I think under a prior iteration of our Supreme Court, we may not have gotten, or we're not likely to get a good result. That's why the fact that they're taking the time to look at this, and this isn't a case of first impression. We have the right to contract, and you're not supposed to be discriminated against in contracting. The reason it's so hard to prove is because people have the right to do business with whom they please. That's part of this free enterprise system. That's part of capitalism in the United States of America. So it's very hard. You can contrast it, same thing, to Colin Kaepernick's case against the NFL. Why isn't this person being hired? Is it because of race? Is it because of action? Is it because of protest? When you have to basically prove a negative, and that's what Allen's going to have to do here, show that every single other reason that they would claim is not true. And that's the only way that we get to the result where it is, and it's really the benefit, I guess, is that it's not a criminal case, because really the standard's still going to be more likely than not. It's not like beyond a reasonable doubt. So I think his case is strong. I just think that the court is reluctant to go into the waters of a person's ability to contract or a company's ability to contract.
Puerto Rico, what the DOJ says, in the making of a contract, he must establish that for the consideration of race, the defendant would have made the contract. Obviously, if you're Comcast, they're gonna say, look, we put TV One on our cable systems. Mm-hmm. We have launched these other minority-focused networks, Aspire. There were a Clio TV, also tied to TV One. And so it goes on and on and on, which was a part of the agreement when they bought Comcast. Excuse me, when they bought NBC Universal. And so that's one of the arguments they make. But the reality is, Captain Hughes had talked about this beforehand at Rainbow Push, when TV One launched, they had to cut a deal with Comcast and give them an equity stake to do it. And that's been the case. Right. So a lot of these black networks, where the distribution company said, okay, we'll put you on, but we gotta own. So you gotta give us an equity stake in your company in order for us to put you on our cable systems. And so what he is saying is, one, I'm not giving anybody any equity. Why can't you put me on these systems? And what we're talking about, first of all, there were several other cable companies that put his networks on. He's got a variety of networks, Comedy Network, a legal network, and several others. And we're talking about significant amounts of money, because there are cable networks out there who get 5-7 cents per subscriber, and they're making a profit because they get that money every single month based upon the number of subscribers.
I think what we are seeing, what we have seen again, is this done over again, right? We saw this we certainly saw this during Reconstruction with the whole concept of 40 acres and a mule. We saw this during the 50s, I think the burgeoning of rock and roll with sort of black artists coming onto the scene. The rock and roll companies, of course, would steal and say the same thing, that you have to give us a buy-in or completely just give us shares of money where we would turn over our copyrights, right? So we see this done over again, and I think what we're seeing now is someone who actually went through the legal process. I mean, we've seen others go through the legal process, but we're really seeing Byron take this through the legal process. And so I'm really interested in seeing what's the outcome, and not necessarily the ruling itself, but will others within the industry, media, as well as other minority businesses, take his example and go through the legal process to get what has been owed to them based off of discrimination.
Ryan, we're talking about if he is successful,
right.
Now all of a sudden, the doors also begin to open. Because the way this system currently is, they are in control. In fact, I can tell you right now, we at TV One, it was interesting in how these deals even work. You could actually sign a master MSO, master agreement with a cable company that's national, but you still were required to go to each individual city and convince the local general manager of that cable affiliate to put you on their system. We had to get real guerrilla in Mississippi because the Washington Post owned a cable system in Mississippi, 70% black. And the general manager says, oh, no one here has requested TV One. And we're like, are you serious? So we had to take a campaign against them. I went on black radio there and said, all right, drop y'all cable, get DirecTV. Then all of a sudden they responded because we also were on DirecTV. But those are some of the tactics that we had to actually employ just to get. When BET launched, you had black preachers and others who had to bombard the cable system saying, put this network on this local cable system. And that's how a lot of the black cable networks had to operate in the last 40 years.
So I'm looking at what Byron Allen has done and what his lawyers have done in alleging the facts to make sure they have a claim that goes forward. Comcast tried to dismiss it. That's what you do. Someone files a complaint. Before you file an answer, you file a motion to dismiss. Their motion to dismiss was granted. Now it's gotten raised all the way to the Supreme Court whether or not Byron Allen alleged enough facts to move forward in this litigation. In this litigation, he's still going to have to go and do discovery and find out if Comcast used race to exclude him. Mm-hmm. The Department of Justice's position might be, we don't want it to get that far. We don't want you going all through the emails of Comcast because it might come out that there was some racism that excluded.
But are you surprised DOJ is filing a brief?
Surprised based on what we know about this administration. You would say you're not surprised, but you might understand that they're siding with Comcast and saying, yeah, let's just not let them go through this painstaking litigation that could come to say that they are. You'd have to say that they were racist.
Monique, are you surprised? Are you surprised that? I mean, here's Byron Allen, Studio, Comcast, Cable Network, DOJ filing a brief?
Right, but we're looking at a civil rights claim, right? So it's appropriate for the Department of Justice and they're filing an amicus brief. So they're saying, we're not in this, but here's what we think about it.
We're not in it, but we're in it.
And that is appropriate, and there are many others who should do the same thing. The issue is that they're kind of bringing it down to some old, like, Dred Scott type analysis on why this is not racism, and that's the part that bothers me. And my counsel here is correct that he's going to have to start over at the beginning. But here's the other thing. When it's a civil suit, money fixes it. So he's not suing, and even if he wins, then they contract with him. They're never going to do business with him. The only thing that he can hope for is that they are crippled and exposed and shamed to the point that they are willing to work something out. Now, a settlement, sure, but courts rarely do specific performance. $20 billion is a lot of money, but it doesn't open a door for you or for me or for anybody else.
Well, some of the other smaller cable companies did buckle and put him on their systems. Jason, last point on this before I go to a break. I'm going to be interested in seeing, will civil rights organizations file briefs supporting Byron Allen over Comcast, who has financially supported many of these same civil rights organizations?
Right. I think that's going to be an interesting thing. I think this entire case is going to be interesting to see how it shakes out, how involved, and again, I appreciate both the comments from the lawyers because I'm not a lawyer. So it was very interesting. It is going to be very
But you stayed at Holiday Inn
interesting
Express, so you can go ahead and speak on it.
Exactly.
All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment.
All right, folks, LifeLux Jazz is the experience of a lifetime delivering top-notch music in an upscale destination. The week-long event is held at the Omnia Day Club Los Cabos, which is nestled on the Sea of Cortez in the celebrity playground of Los Cabos, Mexico. The LifeLux Jazz experience offers the ultimate getaway for discerning jazz aficionados by pairing an upscale international destination with luxury accommodations, fine haute cuisine, top-shelf libations, breathtaking golf, exhilarating spa, health and wellness options, and much more, while showcasing some of the biggest names in entertainment. The second annual LifeLux Jazz experience continues to build upon its success and heritage with Jazzing Around Los Cabos, a celebratory expansion of accomplishing its goal of sharing all the finest the destination has to offer, including daytime excursions and many concerts, including the Spirit of Jazz Gospel Brunch and Jazz Sunset Cruise. Confirmed guests, comedian actor Mark Curry, along with Gerald Albright, Alex Bugnon, Raul Madan, Incognito, Pieces of a Dream, My Man Kirk Whalum, Average White Band, Donnie McClurkin, Shalea, Roy Ayers, Tom Brown, Ronnie Laws, and Ernest Quarles. For more information, visit the website at LifeLuxJazz.com, LifeLuxJazz.com, and I'll also be broadcasting my show from there.
Now back to your Roland Martin Unfiltered.